Hello and welcome. I thought it'd be time to talk a little bit about the future of cities and the way we'll be traveling in cities, because when I was younger, I always used to think in the future there'd just be self-driving cars and everybody would be like hailing a cab that can like drive itself. But nowadays, I think it's more going to be a lot more human-powered vehicles in combination with electric vehicles, and that cities are going to be really built around people instead of cars. And if we look at the current state of cities at the moment, they're really completely built around cars. If you look at a street, it's got at least 2 lanes and then parking spaces on the side with only a small amount of space for the people to walk on. So it's extremely car-centric, and this is not good for the city really, because it pollutes the air, it's dangerous for the people. Cars are also super inefficient because people are usually driving a 5-seater car with only one person in it, and also the car is just standing around for 95% of the time. So it doesn't really make sense. It's not the best solution for transport, but because we've built cities this way and because that is what there is out there, and the mentality is this way, people are still using cars to get around from A to B. It's even seen as a status symbol in a lot of ways, but actually this really needs to change. And we can already see around the world that times are really changing and the mentality is slowly changing, because there's a lot more things that you can share out there. I saw in China you can actually share umbrellas for rainy days and so on. And nowadays also it's not seen so much that people want to really own a good, and they're becoming okay with that. When I talk to people my own age, often they don't own a car, they don't own a house or anything, and they're fine with that because there are better options out there. And if we talk about status and owning things, and I think this will also become a thing of the past, because people want to own a physical object and want to show it to their friends and so on. But you can already see a lot of things are going digital. There's digital likes, which is giving people power, or the sense of power and influence and so on. And I see more things going in this direction. It is still definitely nice to own things, but I think this has kind of been taught in a way, because that's the way the world works at the moment, and that's the way we see things. I myself would still like to own a lot of things, but the more I think about it, it doesn't really make sense. I can share things, and there's companies propping up here and there offering shared versions of their product. And I think this is also going to have a huge impact in cities, and I think it's very important that cities start moving towards having more shared options and working together to offer something that's better for the people, but then also the cities themselves. But going back to what I was saying before, it makes a lot more sense to have human-powered vehicles that might have electric assist to get around in cities, because they're super efficient, you're staying healthy, you're outside in the air and you're interacting with other people, and it actually gets you around much faster than a personal car would get you, because there's congestion and also you need to find a parking space and everything else. But with smaller vehicles, this becomes much easier. So for extremely short distances, you can use just a normal bike, and you can get there quickly. You're doing a little bit of exercise on the way, you're getting some fresh air. And then for longer distances, to be more efficient, you would then use something that also assists you electrically to get you there as fast as possible and as conveniently as possible. And then for even longer distances, you would then use different modes of transport, where you would then use an electric bike to get to the station, and then you can take the train from the station to where you need to go, and then maybe another shared vehicle that's waiting for you already over there. But we still have a lot of steps to take to get to that point, and I think companies need to be working on this together, focusing on different aspects of this transport. Eventually we'll be living in a place where you don't need to think about it, you don't need to think about maintenance, but you can just go onto the street and you select the vehicle of need, or it's even waiting for you because you planned it out the day before. It will be cheap, it will be good for the environment, and it will also be fun. Even with logistics in cities, cargo bikes and similar vehicles are going to be used much more, because they're much smaller, so they're taking up less space, they're much more efficient if you look at the payload that they can carry compared to the weight of itself. And there's already companies like Weezy in the UK that is delivering groceries, and I think Gorilla can do groceries in less than 15 minutes. And a lot of this has been possible because of electric bikes and electric cargo bikes. Those fast food deliveries that you might be ordering on a Friday night, they usually come here on an electric bike, and it's super quick, it's super convenient, and it doesn't cost a lot as well. And whilst we're not at that point yet, we can start working towards it with different companies, again, focusing on the different parts. So we have then one company that focuses on the vehicle itself, one is doing the operations for it, one's charging. If we make the use of the data that we can be collecting, we can really offer the best service to be extremely efficient and to be affordable as well, because the operational costs will become lower and everything. And eventually transport will be much more efficient and hassle-free for the end user as well, which is good for everyone, of course. And again, the air quality will be much better in cities. If we can start working towards changing the infrastructure, adapting to the vehicles, that would be even better. If we allocate more space for people to use these type of micro vehicles in a safe way where they're even protected from cars, then a lot more people are open to trying it, because nobody wants to have their younger children riding on the bike right next to like a big SUV. That's quite dangerous. But the Netherlands is already a good example. Basically everywhere you go you can find like a protected bike lane, but there's still so much room for improvement, and we still need to work on getting the car out of the city. I like driving, and I always thought I would own a car someday, but it just doesn't really make sense, and just to have fun driving or something shouldn't put such a big stress on cities in general. And if we can start taking space away from the cars, we can really start building more parks, more places for the kids to play in, but also for you to get out in. And it would just be a nicer place. It's much better for people to have greenery around. It makes them feel better. The air quality is better again. And this is what cities are working on. The mayor of Paris talks about the 15-minute city concept a lot, where everything that you would need is 15 minutes from your house. So if you need to get to the school, if you need to get to a shop, if you need to get to a park, it's all possible within 15 minutes. And I think a big part of this will be the transport modes that are available, but also the way the city has been built around this idea, because we don't want to waste our time traveling around from A to B. And if we're doing it, we would prefer to stay active. And there should always also be an option that is faster for you to get there in case you're in a hurry. So we need to have a combination of all these different modes offered with suitable infrastructure, and then we would have a perfect city for the people to live in and to do what they need to do and carry out their daily activities. I really think there will be a day where cars are just not allowed in cities. There's no parking spaces for them, there's no infrastructure, and there'll be a lot more green spaces and alternatives that are easy to use for the people. But to get there, we still need to change the mindset of the people. They need to be accepting of this, they need to want to do it. The infrastructure needs to be there ready, so we need to also convince the governments that this is the future, which I think most of them already can agree upon. But wouldn't it be great if we had like cities with lots of green spaces, much less pollution, no congestion as well, less noise pollution, and I think that's kind of the world I would like to see for the future, and that's like the world I would want my kids to grow up in, and so that's why I want to be a part of building this future. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed my ramblings, and I hope that you also see that this is the direction we should take, and this is kind of the future that you also want. And as always, like and subscribe this video, and I'll see you in the next one.